This is the Jack Murphy Podcast. Here's your host, Jack Murphy.
I mean, don't you think that the cops would know where this guy is? You know, with all this stuff going on and all that's been happened in LA before with the fires and the riots. But look at this picture. This guy is out at the scene of these riots in LA. He's got an ankle monitor on. He's got an F-Ice t-shirt going on. He's wearing a mask. And is his girlfriend doing that I Heart LA thing? John,
the Justin Bieber heart thing? No, I think that's what they call a gang sign, Murph.
Really? A gang sign? You mean there are gang people out there burning and looting and protesting?
But the good thing is he'll be easy to locate because of that handy ankle monitor there.
Well, it seems to me that the alarm ought to be going off back at police headquarters right now. Isn't that the way that works? If you get outside the yard or whatever, the ankle monitor signals the cops. Maybe he thinks they're going to be too busy.
They're dealing with a lot right now. You know, they got folks out there breaking into the Apple store in honor of Mexicans. That's
right.
They got people stealing iPhones. They couldn't even get a block away from the Apple store because those iPhones started the alarms. You know, they're disabled, so they just had they left them right there on the street.
Yeah, it's crazy. You've got people from another country who came here illegally, rioting and protesting about the country they came to, while flying a flag of the other country.
Yeah, it's kind of a pretzel logic riot. I don't know where support begins and who it's for, and now there's so many different factions of this riot going on. It's hard to keep up, Murph. It's a lot.
Well, here's an opinion by a Hispanic gentleman that lives in LA, and he has a message. He looks like maybe he's a millennial, or Gen Z rather. Listen to what he has to say to these younger Hispanics. Go ahead.
This message goes out to all you pendejos and pendejas destroying your shit in LA. You know the difference between you entitled fucks today that are immigrants compared to the immigrants that are boomers and Gen Xers? The boomers and Gen Xers came to America and assimilated to the American way of life and wanted to live the American dream. While you little pendejos of today, you want Americans to assimilate to your invasion. I'm going to tell you right fucking now, that's not going to happen.
Wow, that's enough. He certainly learned some fluent cuss words while he was here, didn't he?
He's got a point with assimilation. You know, imagine, let me ask you this, okay? For everybody who is upset about immigration, can you and I right now go to Scotland and just move there and start protesting on the street without anybody asking us any questions, without having to prove any documents or anything like that?
The funny thing about that is, if you're an American, no. But if you're from Somalia or some other country in the Middle East, you can.
Okay, so there are rules and regulations the world over, not just in America.
Well, the problem is the UK, Scotland, Ireland, Italy in some cases, France, definitely, they've allowed just unstoppable migration to happen from the Middle East. And what they're not becoming Hispanics country like we are. They're becoming a Muslim country.
Yeah, they're not assimilating. Nobody assimilates anymore.
No.
When you move to a new country, it's up to you to assimilate and become part of the community there, not bring your community
exactly
and talk bad about America.
We have one more LA story. I saw an interesting interview this morning with a guy from LA. He was talking about the fires and all that, and what a failure Mayor Bass had been and Gavin Newsom had been, and where did all the money go? You know, they had the big concert to help the fire victims in LA. They raised $100 million. And one of the Annenberg daughters or granddaughters is running this thing. She gets paid $750,000 to run this charity that they gave all the money to. They gave the charity handed out all the money to her.
Now that money supposed to be spread out for all the victims?
It's supposed to be all the victims. And then what she does with it. So here you have a big portion of the proceeds going to a 501c entity that actually gives only about 33% of what they take into the actual victims. So the money lost about 70% right there. And then who does she give the money to? She picks out 5 more 501c nonprofits in LA and gives to them so they can distribute it. So go look at what those 501c actually give to charity. So the whole thing was just a big racket. It was to give to these people that run the 501cs. And at the end of the day, very little money actually gets to the people that it needs to get to. And on top of that, with all the administrations and gyrations they have to do at all these nonprofits, it's going to be months before that little bit of money that's left over is passed out.
Well, plus, you know what they say about a leaky bucket. The money drips out, and by the time it gets to where it's supposed to go, it's mainly going to be gone.
Exactly. Now, what you were telling me about Tom Holman is doing something.
Tom Holman, I feel sorry for the guy because he has such a hard job, you know.
No, it's ridiculous.
And then he has so many people working for him, but he's kind of a mush mouth. He reminds me of a DJ I used to work with. He never could understand what he was saying. He would be like, "We got the most."
He reminds me of a DJ I worked with once.
And you know, I thought about Tom Holman. He sounds like when you were at the Olive Garden and you got a mouthful of bread.
Yeah.
And just when the waitress walks by, you have to tell her you want something else. That's what you sound like.
He almost sounds like he could have gone to school on the short bus. I'm not sure, maybe, but apparently he's a very intelligent man, very good at what he does.
I guess he doesn't sound. I mean, he has an iPhone and he broke his Siri. She couldn't figure out what he was saying. Very frustrated.
Yeah. You see him all the time on Fox and a few other places. He's on C. He'll go anywhere. He'll talk to anybody, but they'll do a big build up and throw it to him. He'll go, "I'm so glad to meet with you."
I got to have the closed caption on whenever Tom Holman's on.
That's mean. Don't make fun of Tom. He's doing good work. He's doing work.
He's doing legal work now. This Gavin Newsom.
Yeah.
He says he's going to sue Donald Trump. I got an observation about Gavin Newsom. You've seen him a lot. He's got a kind of a weird shape to his face, and I figured out what he reminds me of.
Let me see.
If you remember the 1989 Batman, where Jack Nicholson played the Joker, and in one scene he had to paint himself flesh colored.
Perfect. That looks just like him.
There they are, spitting image.
There is there's a little survey that's done by Match, the popular online dating site, and it's called Single in America. And the big trend is using AI to help people land dates. 26% of singles are doing it. 1 in 6 has used AI. And the question becomes, because all the people that are in AI, they all say that there's going to be very lifelike robots,
right,
that can talk and carry on a conversation, and they can even learn to say the things that you like.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that can all be fed into the AI.
Customize it to any personality you want.
Yeah. So, what do you think? I know you don't get along well with human women. How would you feel with a AI woman?
I've heard about this technology, and here's the thing.
Right.
I would never want to have like an AI girlfriend or an AI doll, because it's going to be hooked up to Wi-Fi, and the thing will have cameras in it, so it can kind of understand what you're saying and take you in. And that means there's going to be somebody sitting in a room in Data Central watching all of these weird guys talking to these machines, these dolls.
That'd be great. I would love to have that job.
Right.
At the data center to listen in on these conversations.
And I don't want to be that guy. And then like one day I end up in an ad, you're scrolling Facebook.
Sure.
Don't you want to be happy? And I don't want anybody to know. If I can unplug it from the Wi-Fi, yes, and then do my business and then plug her back in. But I don't think it works that way.
Well, listen, everybody, welcome to the Jack Murphy Podcast. Your host is under the weather. My voice sounds terrible. I'm taking some steroids and some other things because I've got a compressed nerve in my neck. It's killing me. But here's the question I would like for you to answer, John. And if you're watching, you can post in the comments below. If you're in a relationship, you have a girlfriend, you're engaged or married or whatever, is it cheating if you have an AI girlfriend too?
It's a good question.
Because that's going to come up too.
I wouldn't say it would be cheating, although sadly I have given this AI girlfriend thing a lot of thought. I hadn't thought about that though. If you're married though, you wouldn't need an AI girlfriend. As you know, your wife is there to be with you through your
John. Don't be naive. That's why there's such a porn problem in this country, is because married guys are looking at porn, young single men are looking at porn. Even the women are looking at the porn now. Even women of all ages are.
As a youngster, I didn't think that was that big of a problem, but now that I'm getting a little long in the tooth, I kind of see where that can be destructive. Can you imagine if they had that back when we were 10 or 11? Being able to access anything in the world right there on our watch or our phone.
I went on a trip of a lifetime 14 years ago. I went to Bora Bora. And first of all, it's an incredibly long flight. It takes like 20 hours to get there. It's crazy.
First class or
coach all the way, baby. It was on a big one of those giant Airbus 380s, one of those huge planes. It was pretty comfortable, actually. But anyway, one day while I was there, I had an excursion every day. One of the excursions was I went out on a fishing boat because, you figure there's got to be, we didn't catch anything, by the way. But I was talking to the captain and I was asking him about Bora Bora. It's a French territory. And everybody there hates the French because they tax these people mercilessly on these islands, and they don't get a lot out of the relationship. They don't get a lot back from France. But I asked him, I said, what besides that, what's the worst thing here? And he goes, oh, no doubt, porn. He said, since they got the internet in the Tahitian Islands, he said, that's all people do is watch porn.
It's a cheap thrill. It's an easy thrill, and you don't have to really put forth any effort. You can see anything you've ever dreamed of and a lot of things you haven't. And I do believe that it is going to play a part in the destruction of humanity at the risk of sounding like an old fuddy-duddy.
So, John, you know who Dave Ramsey is, right?
Of course, I live my life the Dave Ramsey way. You and I have been discussing Dave Ramsey for years.
We went to Financial Peace back in the day, but now Dave, he's got a great team of people around him because he himself, he's pretty boring, but he's got a group around him and they come up with all sorts of great ideas, and he's doing social media now and he's on YouTube, and they have, a lot of these calls could be fake calls. I don't know. Just like
I don't think they're fake. He's kind of a Christian-y guy. I don't think he'd like to pull a fast one on his audience.
But here's Dave Ramsey talking to one of his call-ins.
My husband wants to have alcohol in the budget, and I don't. I'm just wondering if you can tell me where that would fit in when we're in baby step 2.
It's not a money argument. You just don't want alcohol in the house.
No, I don't mind him drinking. I just personally never have and don't want to start. But I see it as a good way to cut in the budget to make extra payments onto debt.
She is a joy killer.
Budget he is proposing.
Listen to this.
He hasn't proposed a budget, but from tracking our expenses, it seems to be about $35 to $40 a week.
$35 to $40 a week, and this woman doesn't seem to think it fits in the budget. $120 bucks a month.
First of all, I'd need to know: is he drinking at a bar or is he drinking at home? If he's drinking at home, if he's drinking at home, that's a lot.
Maybe if you could tell by listening to her voice, maybe he needs that just to make it.
That's possible too. And the fact that she just aired their laundry out on the worldwide Dave Ramsey show.
And she didn't say he had a problem with alcohol. She just doesn't think. But I bet she has her Ben and Jerry's. I bet she has her things.
That's right.
I bet she has her Netflix that she only watches, and that's
she probably has a she shed out in the back where she goes back there and smokes weed or something.
It's okay for her to have all her stuff, but he can't have his.
Joy killer.
It's exactly what marriage is.
What did your latest ex-wife, what was the thing she complained about you the most?
We actually had, now I don't want to say which ex-wife, but
do you not think they're all talking to each other all the time and sharing how much they hate you stories?
Well, here's the thing. There was a lot of love and mutual respect and a lot of excitement between my ex-wife and her boyfriend. Not enough room left in there for me.
Oh.
So, I got a weird thing. All of my exes within a year of breaking up with me all get pregnant. I've had like 6 in my life immediately.
So was that the number one thing they complained about, your inability to get them pregnant, or the fact that you wouldn't try to get them pregnant?
I told them I wasn't really interested in having children, and they were always like, "Oh, that's fine." Boom, next guy, he gets.
Yeah, they always lie about that.
They lie about everything.
They all want to have children, and they want to have them right away.
Right away.
Particularly, when they're in their late 20s or past that, they're ready right then.
Boy, they get them baby rabies going right then, and they
have the room decorated in their mind already with all the toys. They're ready. But you weren't, were you, John?
They don't even need the guy. They just want the baby.
You were a man who was honest, and you told her right up front, "I'm not interested in having no chillin'."
And she was like, "That's fine." And she was honest too. And she said, "He's just my friend."
Father's Day weekend is coming up. Now, is your father still alive?
No,
he's gone. Your mom?
She's still around.
All right. You don't seem so excited about that.
I mean, I answered your question.
How long has your father been gone?
He died in 2017 or 2018, but I only saw him less than 11 times in my life.
Shut up. How come? He just wasn't interested in you?
He wasn't interested in me. He liked to drink and smoke cigarettes and watch TV away from his children.
He trained you well in the cigarette department, didn't he?
I certainly got those characteristics from him. I don't pay attention to my children either.
Well, I brought that up because I have a little list today. This is a list of the top 5 television dads.
Oh, I got my list too.
I'm not sure I agree with it, but number 5, Carl Winslow from Family Matters. Number 4, Bob Belcher from Bob's Burgers.
Never watched those shows.
I didn't either. Number 3, I watched Family Matters, I think. Number 3, Archie Bunker from All in the Family.
I wouldn't call him a top TV dad, a very great character, of course, but a great dad.
He made the list. I can only read the list. That's all I can do.
I'll go back and check the list. I'm not sure if I agree with it.
Number 5 is Carl Winslow from Family Matters. Number 4, Bob Belcher from Bob's Burgers. Number 3, Archie Bunker, All in the Family. Number 2, Andy Taylor from the Andy Griffith Show.
Now, let me guess, who would be the number 1 TV dad? This is a messed up list.
It would be Al Bundy from Married with Children.
See, that's a goof list. That's not a real list. I would say that Andy Taylor is on there. Mr. Walton, John Walton Sr. from the Waltons. You got to put Charles Ingalls in there from Little House on the Prairie. Where's he? Where's Ward Cleaver? I know more about TV dads than my own dad.
Finally, today I want to end with one story. I didn't know that Monica Lewinsky had a podcast, number 1. And apparently
I've seen it. It sucks.
Yeah. Well, she gets some pretty good guests. And so her latest guest on the Monica Lewinsky podcast was Miley Cyrus, who, was one day sweet, innocent Hannah Montana, and the next minute a total whore.
Yeah, what happened to her? I think the Illuminati got a hold of her.
I think bad parenting got a hold of her. Bad parenting got a hold of her and her little sister. But anyway, let's hear what she had to say on the Monica Lewinsky podcast.
Lifetime, which, as far as I know it, I don't have concrete proof that I have another one. I hope that I do, which is another thing I thought about when I was going to speak with you, what it would be like to have another lifetime, to be another person, to not be Monica or Miley everywhere that you go. And I thought a lot about you, that I wonder if you have just like a hard time, or if you divide yourself from celebrity, because, when I was listening to you interviewing yourself, Monica on Monica, was that celebrities kind of choose this life. And I didn't really choose it because
it occurs to me that Miley Cyrus's singing voice doesn't translate.
She sounds like a guy.
Yeah, but she sings like a bird.
Oh, she's got a great voice.
So I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know necessarily, because it was also my dad in the 90s. It was very different. There wasn't cell phones where everyone's a paparazzi. There was a sense of
There were cell phones in the 90s.
On a 500 acre.
Yeah, but when Billy Ray was big, she's talking about Billy Ray. That was in like 93. That was like the last couple.
We had cell phones. They didn't have cameras.
Yeah. The only people that had cameras were like TMZ with the long zoom lens.
Right. But, when you go out every night wearing your underwear, Miley, and you're all over the streets half the night long, there's going to be some photos that aren't very flattering to come out.
She does bring a lot of it on. Are you a Miley Cyrus fan?
No.
You don't like
I think she has a great voice. I just don't care for her life.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't blame you for not being a fan of her music, but can you appreciate the fact that she's a very accomplished pop singer?
Very, very much so. That song I happen to know, I've interviewed him before, the guy who wrote The Climb, which may be her biggest hit.
It was one of her first hits, but
I remember that. But I mean, she ain't had a lot of hits. Wrecking Ball.
Now, she had a big hit a couple of years ago called Flowers. She has like one a hit every year or two, and it's a monster. And then she goes back.
I never saw it. I never heard that one. But anyway, Miley goes on in this. I won't play it all for you, bore you, but she goes on to say that they really patched things up at home. Billy Ray wasn't happy with their lifestyle either. And so she says, now I go home and I don't feel a lot of guilt or embarrassment in front of my parents. Now, hasn't Billy Ray dumped his wife, or haven't they got divorced?
Yeah, and I think he's married to somebody else now. And
Winona Judd, maybe.
No, but I gotta blame Billy Ray and his wife for allowing Miley to grow up the way she did. There are a lot of examples of great stage parents. Ron Howard's parents were great. There are a lot of them, and then obviously Billy Ray and his wife Tish were too busy with their own stuff to deal with Miley and acting out like she did as a young person. I wonder what went on in her teenage years when there was no parental supervision. Kind of Drew Barrymore up in here.
I think we can all imagine the kind of things that went on with Miley Cyrus in her teenage years.
Thanks for watching the Jack Murphy Podcast. Remember to like, subscribe, and ring that bell. Go ahead, ring it. Get alerts when a new episode drops, and tell your friends about the Jack Murphy Podcast. But only the cool friends, please. Tune in next time for another episode of the Jack Murphy Podcast.